Yes, Strada, that's actually a pretty dang good question, man. I would say that stocks that have yet to move out of bases off the lows are laggards, but if they're in groups, that are starting to strengthen, then yeah, like if you're not at an all-time high yet, but you're a name like, um, these hotel stocks, something like a Marriott, right? It recently got above its 200, but it does look like this thing may have bottomed and now it's digesting properly and now it's trying to start to push out of this little consolidation base. If they're in a similar group and they're all kind of setting up the same way, here's your Hilton, then this one's less of a laggard. Then yeah, they might be lagging because they haven't hit a new all-time high or new 52-week high yet, but that doesn't mean they can't work, right? I think one of the most important parts is making sure that you're focused in on group strength because it does change, right? It's never just the same. Sometimes some groups begin to weaken, others begin to strengthen. So, I want price to be above and establish itself above the 200 simple moving average, similar to what we saw in HLT right here. Similar to what we saw in like these semi names and like KLAC, right? There's no positive slope in here yet, but I was still interested in a KLAC, and an LRCX, even an AMD. Morning, Doug. Morning, Isaac. You guys like the fresh fit? Kathy for the W. Oh man, that makes me laugh. AT. Yeah, AT looks pretty good. No, okay, so it is enough. Just getting through the 200 simple moving average is enough, but how does it look before it got to the 200 simple moving average? Like, okay, two examples, and I remember both of these vividly because one I traded, one I left alone. So Tesla, right, had this nice little bull flag digestion just underneath the 200 simple moving average. So I bought it, right, 293. FSLR, right? And so you had this, like, you had your digestion underneath the 200, this little move up, and then what I believe to be this little bull flag, right? And I was just kind of waiting for that 293 level to get taken out. All right. Next, FSLR had this big ramp up off the lows into the 200, right? Where now it's got to move 65% to get through the 200, and I didn't touch it, right? I needed some sort of digestion just under the 200, and for good reason. Look, it just failed there. So I want the stock to establish itself above the 200, or I want it to tighten up just underneath the 200, right? I don't just want to like casually buy this thing after it's just gone up, 60%, 50% and be like, "Oh, it's above the 200, I got to get in." Right? It's, you got to be able to differentiate between the two things. Yeah, IONQ is not going away, PBA. It's just not going away. The ones that aren't acting nearly as well, though, are your QBTS, which was your former leader, and Rigetti. But, IONQ could go alone, maybe. Or maybe these names got another leg in them. There's other speculative stuff I like too, like this HSAI. It's even got good earnings and sales. Yeah, Archer getting a little less chaotic. Yeah, this is looking a whole lot better. Kathy Wood owns a bunch of these, so she owns a bunch of Archer. And I'm wearing my Kathy shirt today, so maybe just maybe Archer Joby has been kind of leading. I don't want to use the word leading, but I actually think Archer looks a whole lot better. Yeah, small caps could definitely perform well if the IWM gets its act together. Whoops. And the IWM is trying to shape up above it's trying to get above the 200 simple moving average right now. Yeah, IBKR. This one hurts a little bit. I was in JP Morgan and the leader, and I would suspect that IBKR does something very similar. It'll go to an all-time high. A 4-to-1 split. Wow. It does something. To their group and then to the market, right? And then again, dependent on what market it is you're trading. If I'm trading a gold stock, I'm comparing it to other gold stocks. Yeah, Schwab, very similar looking base. JP Morgan had a similar looking base. Yeah, Schwab, Goldman Sachs, these all had very similar looking bases. JP Morgan was my favorite of the bunch. I bought this thing, what day was this? 610. And then I took a loss on it on 613. Sucks, but it is what it is. Yeah, Shop looks good. Shop looks pretty dang good. Twilio, another one that looks pretty decent. There's a few of these. There's a few of these names out there that definitely are shaping up. Both are important. A stock's ATR and ADR are important to me. If a stock is gappy, ATR is important. Bros is laggy too. I mean, it looks okay, like it's not dying, but you know, I'll try to get myself in other names before I try to get myself into Bros. No, I'm not completely hands off. I think there's context there, right? The market was still below the 200 simple moving average, if I'm not mistaken, when I was buying Netflix, right? So I was buying Netflix. At first, I was looking at it down here as an undercut and rally of 854. And then I bought it on 424, or sorry, excuse me, on 422 at 1019. And, I think at that point, the SPY was still below the 200. Yeah, sure was. So, it really depends. We're coming off of a big correction, and we also had a follow through day. The best time to buy stocks is after a correction. That is the best time to buy stocks without question. The question then becomes, what exactly are you buying? Are you buying stocks that have been showing relative strength? Palantir, Hood, Uber, Netflix, Spotify, et cetera, right? Are you buying CrowdStrike, Zscaler, SE? I mean, there was a ton of them. GPRE. I've never even seen this name, and for good reason. WGS looks pretty decent. Maybe, more digestion here would be good. Love the pickup in volume. That's great. PL, another recent earnings winner. Just trying to shape up. Yeah. Near a 52-week high, which is nice, but a bit choppy. Looks like it's got to stay over $6. What advice do I have for drawing trend lines? Don't draw. I personally don't love trend lines. I prefer horizontal bases. Yeah, like connecting three candlesticks or connecting the wicks or the bodies or exactly. The reason you can't find a general consensus is the reason that I don't use trend lines. The best approach is horizontal lines. You can't confuse a nice flat line. Price is good above that line and bad below that line, right? Like ARC, right? See this nice little horizontal line here? Can't confuse it. See this JP Morgan horizontal line here? Can't confuse it. You start drawing downtrend lines, and then you're dealing with all sorts of shit. You're dealing with, you don't know if you're drawing the right downtrend line. Like you think it's touching enough points, you think it's, you're crossing the top of the wick, but it's really, through the it's just too subjective for it to be as reliable as you'd like. The other reason why downtrend lines aren't better, in my opinion, than a horizontal line, because when you draw a downtrend line and then you're looking at a chart, it still then has resistance on the left-hand side of the chart. When you draw a horizontal line and it's up near highs, it no longer has resistance. Right? Here's another example like this AS, right? Nice little horizontal line. Horizontal, fantastic. Right, toast. It's got this basically horizontal line at highs. See this Palantir down here? Had this nice little horizontal base. See this Netflix? Nice little horizontal line. Oh, and wait, there's more. Another one. No, I wait for moving averages to cross up. MNDY Monday. Yeah, choppy base, but could go. Plenty liquid. Moves fast enough. Yeah, I try to not day trade, unless I see a really big opportunity. My objective is to always try and get myself positioned in stocks that here's the reality. I don't want to day trade, but I'm trying to catch 3 to 5 day moves. And then I peel some off and then I trail the rest on ascending moving averages. That's it. That's all I can really do. Yeah, PAGS was it PAGS? Is that Pegasus? No, PAGS too choppy. STNE cleaning up. For a second, I thought you were talking about, is it PEGS? PAGS? I'm not sure. Which one's Pegasus? Pega. Yeah, Pega. Why do people say avoid trading biotech stocks? Well, have you ever been caught in a halt down before? It's not the same for every stock. It's dependent on the stock's average true range and how much they move from your entry point on day 1, 2, or 3, or 4 or 5. Right? If it's a 2% daily mover and it's up 10% in 3 days, it's probably good to trim. If it moves 8% per day and it's up 10% in 2 days, it hasn't really moved yet. Yeah, I saw that Oracle this morning with a price target upgrade. Yeah, I mean, I'm not chasing this shit. I think I'm going to chase Oracle this extended from the 50 simple moving average because somebody gave them a price target upgrade. The answer is F no. Yeah, these other names are laggards. I do think that these other names we're talking about right at this point are laggards. The best thing to do, in my opinion, is to try and get yourself repositioned in some of the very best stocks that have been in uptrends, but they need to digest a whole lot better. Yeah, I don't know if I would say VNet looks very good. I mean, a stock that goes from 16 back to 5, I mean, there's actually not as much strength as you think there. Akba, I noticed, had been in an uptrend for a while, but I would kind of avoid that for now without a better setup. ONDS definitely for smaller accounts looks pretty decent, I suppose. SEI looks the best of the bunch. Figure out which one of those are in the very best groups. Would I buy AS now? I thought it was buyable on Friday. I mean, it had a double inside day, super tight, coming out of this little flat pivot. No, should you wait for another correction and follow through before entering new positions? Nope, because you don't know if this bull market's going to last another 2 years without a meaningful correction, right? We might not get another 20% correction for years. You don't know. So your job is to look for the stocks that are in leading groups, top 40, have good earnings and sales, a clean technical setup you understand. In that order. If they're not in leading groups, you just leave them alone. If they don't have earnings and sales, they're tradable, but that's all they really are. They're just short trades. And if they've got a clean technical setup you understand, then you trade it. Guys, it's an uptrend until the market tells you otherwise. Yeah, aerospace and defense looks really good. Yeah, ULS looks awesome too. I saw this one on my scans last night. I just didn't add it to the watch list. Yeah, I mean, this is gorgeous. And they have good earnings and sales. Ulysses or whatever. It's fantastic. Yeah, I like IBIT. I liked IBIT off of the 50 simple moving average. IBIT here is, I mean, it still looks pretty good. We'll see what it does if it can take out, what is this, Wednesday's high. Um, yeah, I think Palantir could recover off that high. I think Palantir could recover until that high, but who knows? I'm not sure. Massive pickup in volume, second, like really nasty down day. just has done nothing since the middle of May. Yeah, I'm following Tempest. I'm following all Kathy Wood stocks, you see? I'm not wearing a Kathy Wood shirt for no reason. Yeah, no, volatility still sucks here. For me, it needs over $72. Yeah, MBIS. I think this MBIS is going to be better to be bought off of ascending moving averages, personally. It looks good, though. It could just rip from here. But, it's going to have to take out this little ugly down day, too. Yeah, that's the first part. You want stocks in good groups. The reason that it hasn't made a better move for the last month is because it's not in a great group. But the reason it's held up so well is good earnings and sales. You could actually look at them on those different over those different time frames, right? How do they look over those different time frames? Yeah, Toast was another nice one right off the 50-day. Just absolutely perfect. You've got a few options to check for group strength. You've got FinViz, you got DeepView, you got Market Surge. Well, Joby's going up at the moment, so Joby's kind of leading the way here. No, they both look good. You just noticed the shirt? Kathy getting the love today for performing nicely these last few weeks. Yeah, this VEEV looks fine. It just needs to hold over 279. Doesn't look too bad at all. Yeah, PRCH, another one that's been acting fairly well, huh? Yeah, nice little inside day. Held the high volume close level. It's been acting really well. Zia's proposed offering this morning, but that'll probably get soaked right up. PanW, crowd. I think the best places to buy right now are off of ascending moving averages at this point. Yeah, I'm on live every single morning, man. At least until the market open. And then I'm doing the same thing, but just in the room. No, that's not necessarily true. I don't just buy what I did at my homework on the night before. I'm also checking futures markets. I'm checking to see how my stocks reacted overnight. I'm checking to see if there's any earnings gappers in the morning. So I don't just buy what I scan for the night before, right? I don't know what futures markets are going to do overnight. So, if futures markets shape up quickly on stocks that, I had interest in, then, I try to be prepared for those too. My thoughts on Arlo, it's been acting great. Is this, oh, FFIV? Yeah, a little sloppy, but yeah. It depends the setup, right? It depends how strongly you feel about the stock you're trading. How do I decide when to take profit on the first lot? There are times that I don't want to take profit at all and I just want to trail it and I'm good with the outcome of the trade before I get in, right? Like I'm already thinking to myself before I ever get in that I just want to trail the position. So, that's kind of a decision that you're making beforehand, has to do a lot with environment, has to do a lot with the stock itself, has to do with the setup you're trading. When I bought this Nvidia coming out over 500 bucks down here, I knew for sure that I didn't want to do anything with it because of how big of a base this was, right? I knew that this 5 month consolidation could lead to a big move. So, I just decided to be super patient with it. And yes, this was the first day that I got rid of it, February 12th. And then the second day was this ugly reversal bar. So, yeah, sometimes you have to make that decision before you ever get into the trade. Yeah, I trade in pre and post markets sometimes. Could I explain to you how you could have gotten into Sussa before the run? Yeah, high volume close, right? So you've got your gap up, high volume pickup, plot your close, good above the close, bad below. Dave did something similar, right? Plot your close on the high volume day, good above, bad below, right? Oddity did something similar. Plot your high volume close, good above, bad below. And then like even like something like CCL, it's the same thing. It just was delayed a day, right? So you get your gap up, high volume close. It didn't go the next day, but I came in and bought it on Thursday and then nice push on Friday, right? So today, a little bit bigger of a push, maybe by Tuesday, once it gets to this 52-week high, I'm trimming a little bit into this 28s, and then I'm just trailing the rest. So, yeah, high volume closes for the win. Yeah, it was an earnings trade. Yeah, you could buy them on earnings as well. You just, are you buying a 5-minute opening range break? Does it always have to gap up for the high volume close setup? No, it does not. You can short those as well too, if you'd like. If they gap down. If I already have a full portfolio and then you see a new good setup, would you close old positions and just ignore new ones? I would. If the market's still following through and new stocks are still following through, what I like to do is I close the slowest stocks in my portfolio and make room for faster ones. Yeah, OUST, man, super move. And then same with AEVA. No, I didn't trade AEVA. At the time, it was a little thin for my portfolio. At the time, it was only trading like 20 million bucks a day in here. So, and even in here, just way too thin for my account. Nobody's mentioned Eat, but Eat looks good. Shaq's been acting better. I'd like to wait for Shaq and get myself involved here. Does the HVC have to be green? Well, I mean, ideally. Well, I don't have a position in IBKR, but if I did, what would I do? I would keep my eyes on JP Morgan. I would keep my eyes on Goldman Sachs because IBKR is somewhat of a laggard. Now, I do like those banks in the way that they're acting, JPM and GS, but if this thing's just going to continue to slowly trend higher, fantastic. And you just say put, right? Do nothing. But you're going to want to eventually pay yourself. I don't I don't know how big your account is, so I can't really speak, but this name's a little bit slower. It's I don't know if you should necessarily be in a slow one, but if you've got a ton of buying power, then yeah, JFrog looks better. Do I believe Minervini's 25% positions, 8% moves, 37 times a year gives you 107? I mean, um, it's a math thing. I don't know that I have to believe him. Did you do the math? It's too thin for me. It's too thin. This thing is a recent IPO, hasn't even been trading 200 days. Bloom Energy gapping up. It's likely this is one of your leaders, in the alternative energy space too. It's been acting like, but nah. Yes, yes, it is. It is typical for stocks to run like Netflix. Netflix has actually already done it before. Netflix has had a run like this after the correction of 23, where we went 3 waves down, right? So market was getting beaten up, got pulled back 10%, and then October Netflix gaps up, goes sideways for a few weeks, and then when your market gives you a follow through day, right? Netflix just doubled from there, right? And if you look at the market at the time, market had gone down 10%. Where are we at? We are over here, right? Market goes down 10% in middle of October, right? Netflix gaps up and the market's still going lower while Netflix is going sideways. And then you get a follow through day on this little gap up, and then there you go. Netflix is off to the races. Can I check Indian charts? No, I can't check Indian charts. It's too slow, even on the short side. I like oddity. Yeah, oddities, gonna it looks like it's gonna keep going. This looks like an earnings winner. The volume has totally changed in this thing. Does Oracle remind me a bit of Nvidia's big breakout? No, it doesn't. This isn't a big base. This is a 7-day base. Also, I'm not chasing a gap up like this on a price target increase. Pretty sure that's all this was. Yeah, you should be using a relative strength scanner during market corrections. Yeah, relative strength scanners during market corrections. That's how you find your leaders. You love the long-term chart of on. I mean, I don't really see what there's to love at the moment, but Can I describe a relative strength scan? They're very, very easy. So they end up just finding stocks that are going up when their peers are going down or when their peers are flat. So like if every stock in the market is down on the day, let's just say for whatever reason, stock market's down 4%, 95% of stocks are down, right? The 5% that are up, now's relative strength line is increasing. Well, let's just say that then there's a day where like all stocks are up, right? The stocks that are up the most, their relative strength line is increasing. So like if a bunch of stocks in semiconductors are up on the day and they're up more than cybersecurity, right? Cybersecurity stocks relative strength line is falling versus semis. So you're just looking at that in comparison over 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. You know why I don't like on, Evan? It's not because on looks so terrible. It's because Deck looks horrible. It's because the shoe stocks look horrible. Crocs looks pretty dang bad. You know, can they eventually get their shit together? Yeah, maybe. No, it doesn't. That's a rebalancing high volume close. But you got to kind of ignore that. Although Google could, could very well just keep going higher. Who knows? Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that looks pretty decent today. Thing is with something looking actionable today is how are you buying stuff? Are you looking to buy breakouts or are you looking to buy pullbacks to ascending moving averages? That's what matters more. KRUS. Who doesn't love some sushi? Yeah, food stocks are looking pretty good. This one's kind of lagging though. My favorite food stock right now is Shake Shack, probably. Love Shack's burgers, man. Yeah, Pat's great. Pat's awesome. Learned a lot from Pat. Still learn a lot from Pat. Yeah, the for the last month, the best entry tactic has been buying pullbacks versus ascending moving averages. By far, is the best way to get involved. Been by far the best way to get involved in the market. TT. Yeah, looks okay. You know the issue with TT, Shack this is it moves too damn slow. It moves entirely too slow. 1.65% per day. That's just not fast enough, man. You'll drive yourself crazy waiting around to make money in that thing. BWTX, man, I'm very familiar with this company too. Yeah, it's just not long enough. It's too extended from the 50 here. For how slow it moves, BWTX is too extended from the 50. TMTX looks a little bit better. But yeah, BWTX, they're in the right group. BWTX, I believe they make components for nuclear facilities too. And nuclear facilities are definitely in trend right now. AVAV, yeah, that was nice on the earnings gap up and on the high volume close. Very nice move. What's fast enough ADR? Well, you have to determine that for yourself for your own portfolio, but depends how much money you have to work with. If you're trying to grow your portfolio a little bit faster, 2% is not going to cut it. Something like 4%, 5% or above, maybe 6. Yeah, I'm not sure about Oscar. It's just got to tighten up a little bit for me. How would you trade AVAV, HVC? Good above the high volume close, bad below. Strata. Don't overthink it. All right, guys, I got to get prepped for stream this morning. I will see you guys tomorrow. Please trade them well. Don't do anything crazy. It's Monday. Don't ruin the week on the first day of the week. Be patient. Be patient for the open. And I will see you guys bright and early tomorrow. Yep, trade them well, guys. Thank you.